For nearly a decade, Jeremy Wade took us to the edge of the world's deadliest rivers, pulling legends from the depths and facing dangers most of us could only imagine. Then, without warning, river monsters vanished from our screens. Fans were told it was the natural end of the adventure, but was it really? Now, at 69, Wade has finally broken his silence, and what he reveals about why the show ended is far more shocking than anyone expected. The birth of a phenomenon. Before Jeremy Wade became a household name, he lived a life that was adventurous but far from television fame. For nearly 2 decades, he worked as a biology teacher, most notably in Kent, England, and later even abroad in places like Sudan and India. Teaching gave him stability, but Wade was the first to admit it was never his ultimate calling. He once said that while he enjoyed sharing knowledge with students, the classroom could not compete with the pull of the wild. He described teaching as a means to an end, a way to fund his expeditions, buy equipment, and keep his adventurous spirit alive when he wasn't out on rivers. His true passion, he confessed, lay not in textbooks but in uncovering mysteries hidden in the waterways of the world. Even while balancing his teaching duties, Wade never stopped traveling. He used long holidays and every break to venture into remote places, seeking out rivers where danger and folklore flowed together. In these regions, the people he met often had startling stories to share. Fishermen, village elders, and local guides recounted terrifying incidents that blurred the line between myth and reality. There were tales of giant fish capable of swallowing dogs whole, of people pulled beneath the surface by unseen forces, and of mysterious injuries that could not be explained. Many described disappearances where the river was the only suspect. Unlike outsiders who might dismiss such accounts as superstition, Wade listened carefully. With the mind of a scientist and the curiosity of an adventurer, he recorded every story in detail. Over time, he built a kind of living library, a catalog of global freshwater legends stretching from South America to Africa to Asia. Each entry in his growing collection deepened his conviction that beneath these murky waters lay truths stranger than fiction. The turning point came in 2007 when Wade's relentless search for answers nearly cost him his life. While on an expedition, he contracted a severe case of malaria. The illness struck with brutal force, leaving him bedridden and weak. For weeks, he hovered between life and death, and even after surviving, his recovery was painfully slow. Yet this period of forced rest became an unexpected gift. Stripped of his ability to travel and fish, Wade turned inward, using his convalescence to reflect on the decades of notes, journals, and strange encounters he had collected. It was in this vulnerable time that the idea for River Monsters began to take shape. Wade envisioned a television series that would merge his scientific background with the raw thrill of adventure. Unlike other fishing programs, which often sensationalized their stories, his show would stand apart by blending 3 powerful elements. First, a detective-style investigation into real-life mysteries. Second, the challenge of extreme angling in environments where failure, and even death, was a possibility. And third, the inclusion of authentic local voices, giving cultural weight and context to each mystery. Wade wanted the series to be both thrilling and truthful, solving puzzles of nature without resorting to exaggeration. That vision became a reality on April 5, 2009, when River Monsters premiered on Animal Planet. The debut season, filmed largely in the Amazon basin, introduced audiences to legendary species like the Paraíba catfish and the Arapaima, creatures shrouded in centuries of folklore. Wade approached each case like a detective, interviewing witnesses, analyzing evidence, and then embarking on perilous attempts to locate and capture the suspected culprit. The format was unlike anything viewers had seen before. The response was immediate and overwhelming. By the end of its first season, River Monsters had become Animal Planet's highest-rated series, averaging more than 1.3 million viewers per episode in the United States alone. Viewers were hooked not only by the suspense of each mystery, but also by Wade himself. His calm, methodical approach, coupled with his respect for both the creatures and the communities he encountered, distinguished him from other television hosts. Scientists praised the show's accuracy, while general audiences loved its sense of discovery. Yet behind the camera, Even in these early days of success, troubling realities were beginning to take shape. Expanding the hunt. By 2011, River Monsters had grown into far more than a television show about fishing. It had become a global expedition, a hunt for answers stretching across continents, and through some of the most unforgiving environments on Earth. Jeremy Wade and his crew were no longer confined to the Amazon or South America. The success of the early seasons gave them the opportunity, and the responsibility, to search farther and deeper than ever before. Each new location brought fresh mysteries, and with them, new dangers. That year, the series pushed into the turbulent waters of the Congo River in Central Africa, one of the world's deepest and most unpredictable waterways. The Congo is notorious for its treacherous currents, and for harboring species that can rival the size and strength of anything found in the Amazon. For Wade, it was the perfect stage for his investigations, but for the crew, it was a logistical nightmare. Transporting gear through the jungle, navigating political red tape, and staying safe in an unpredictable environment tested everyone involved. The reward, however, was undeniable. Audiences were captivated, and River Monsters was now firmly established as a truly international production. The adventures did not stop there. Soon, Wade was scaling the icy foothills of the Himalayas in search of creatures that thrived in the cold, high-altitude rivers. The contrast was dramatic. One season might find him waist-deep in muddy, insect-infested waters, and the next shivering in glacial streams surrounded by snow-capped peaks. This variety was part of what made the show so compelling. Each episode was not only a biological mystery but also a cultural journey into the lives of the people who depended on these rivers for survival. Among all these expeditions, one of the most unforgettable took place in Southeast Asia, where Wade pursued the giant freshwater stingray. This extraordinary animal, known locally as Himantara, can reach lengths of more than 15 feet and weigh several hundred kilograms. Capturing it on camera was not a matter of luck. It required days of grueling work in punishing heat, endless patience, and a deep collaboration with local fishermen. Wade often described this hunt as one of the most intense challenges of his career. When the stingray finally revealed itself, thrashing against the line with enormous strength, the footage became iconic. It was not just a triumph of angling but of endurance, determination, and the delicate partnership between man and nature. As the seasons continued, the show ventured into even more difficult terrain. In 2012, Wade and his team journeyed to Guyana, a remote land of dense rainforest and winding rivers. Just reaching the fishing sites required days of travel by dugout canoe. Equipment had to be carried through thick jungle, exposed to constant rain and mud. Communication with the outside world was almost non-existent. For the crew, this was not just an adventure but a test of survival. Weather delays, mechanical failures, and physical exhaustion piled on top of the already enormous task of capturing compelling footage. Many viewers sitting at home had no idea of the extraordinary effort it took just to get a single scene on film. By this time, episodes were becoming longer and more demanding to produce. What once could be filmed in a few weeks began to stretch into 2 months or more. The search for each river monster required extensive planning, complicated permits, and an ever-growing logistical team. With every new season, the expectations from the audience increased, pushing Wade and his crew to take on challenges that grew more extreme. But while viewers saw Jeremy Wade as a calm, determined figure unraveling mysteries in exotic rivers, behind the scenes the reality was very different. The pace was beginning to wear on the people who made the show possible. Long days of travel, endless hours on rivers with no guarantee of success, and the constant pressure to deliver results created a heavy burden. Crew members were often pushed to their physical and mental limits. By the show's 7th season in 2015, some of the long-standing team members had stepped away entirely, citing exhaustion and the difficulty of sustaining such a punishing schedule. Each new location demanded more from the crew, more from the hosts, and more from the river itself. The excitement of discovery was still there, but so too was the quiet, creeping realization that the cost of these hunts was mounting. As the hunts grew tougher, the risks to Jeremy Wade and his crew escalated, nearly turning deadly. The physical and emotional toll. By the time River Monsters reached its middle seasons, the show had already pushed Jeremy Wade and his